So, regardless of what you believe in, I think that we can all agree that we have a voice in our head, right? The one that we think with, that we perhaps talk to sometimes, perhaps it torments us sometimes. Um, Whether or not your relationship with this voice is a healthy one or not, I think we can all agree that we all have a voice, inaudible voice, perhaps, that we think with and that we hear with and that we, some might call it your consciousness, or some might it be your higher self, or maybe just the voice in my head, or whatever it is that you call it. The important thing is, how do you actually build a relationship with this voice in a way that can help you connect to yourself more, to your higher self, to your best self? What is your best self? Your best self, in my definition of it, is the you that happens when you are aligned with your absolute truth. The version of yourself that has no masks, that has no fears, that has nothing attached, just your original, true, aligned self. It's a part of you that, or a version of you, that is probably not there all the time, right? It's very difficult to be there all the time, for us to be like aligned and exactly and perfect and our best self at every given moment of our day and time. However, it's important to acknowledge that that is a version of ourselves that we want to be able to connect with when we need a little bit extra guidance, a little bit extra support, a little bit extra clarity in our lives or in a situation. So, how do you build this relationship with this version of yourself? Let's call it your consciousness. How do you build a relationship with it, as opposed to just hearing it and having it be in your head? I'm sure there's many different ways you can do this. One of them is any form of mindful practice, right? Meditation is a great way of starting to just even acknowledge this voice. Just think about being in silence. Think about being in stillness. Think about essentially stripping yourself away of any stimulation that could distract your attention and your focus. So what would that look like? What would it be like to be stripped away from stimulation? Maybe we start with stillness. What is it like to not move at all? It can get sometimes uncomfortable. And actually, many times it can get uncomfortable because the more still you are, the more you feel your energy. And so when you start to settle into this stillness, you start to recognize where your energy is. Maybe it's not as still as your body is now still. Maybe it's a little agitated. Maybe it's unsettled, or maybe it's settled. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Don't judge it. Just observe it. And actually be grateful of the fact that you now can actually identify where your energy is. So you go to stillness. You start to breathe. With your breath, you can start to settle your nervous system. Your nervous system, everything that's flowing through your nervous system, energy. So how do you settle your energy? How do you settle your nervous system? Use your breath. And use your breath to try to match the flow of energy in your body to the physical stillness of your body. And suddenly everything goes super quiet. And then you start to find that absolute settledness. And you're like, oh my God, what is this? It's so quiet. It's so peaceful. It's like you can finally just settle into it. This is a great way of just preparing one, of settling your nervous system, aka the energy flowing in your body. But also it's a great way of preparing yourself to really be able to have a conversation with your higher self, your consciousness. So once you are able to kind of get into that subtleness, start to identify that voice. Maybe start with the most simple question, and yet a question that we rarely answer honestly. How are you? Like, how are you really? And just ask the question. What I have found the most helpful in developing a relationship with my consciousness or with that voice has been in not focusing on, basically my only job is to ask questions. That's it. Like, forget about the rest. Just ask questions and then just listen. Whether there is nothing and it's silent, whether you get a bunch of information, whether sometimes you get answers in the form of images, sometimes you get answers in the form of thoughts, sometimes you get answers in the form of smells, and you start to realize that you can have healthy, clear, open communication with this voice. You really can. And maybe sometimes you won't believe that it's actually the voice, or is it me controlling the voice? Is it me deciding the answers? Blah, 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 blah. It's all fine. It takes a lot of practice in order to start to basically trust that it is your voice answering you, and that voice is actually super incredibly wise, and that no one in the world knows you better than that voice. And that you and that voice can have a dialogue in which you don't actually know the answer until it answers, which is mind-blowing. Because once you realize that you can have a dialogue with this super wise, weird voice in your head, it means you can ask it for advice. And it means, this was literally my realization as I went through this. I remember that day when I was like, oh. Then I started to have these like crazy dialogues. And then I started to write like, well, I don't know why I feel like this. I don't even know why I'm trying to do this. And then I would write the answer to that, which I knew, because you always know. I was like, really, you don't? I was like, well, yeah, okay, I do. And before I knew it, I had written like 5 pages of dialogue, which might sound crazy and it might sound like, oh, Ivana was losing it. Maybe. But truly, it was the most helpful dialogue that I can possibly tell you, because it was honest to the, like, in a way that you have not been honest with anyone like that. For me specifically, writing has been crucial in developing this relationship with my voice, just because I wasn't so great at just meditating, right? I needed visual. Again, if you're skeptical like me, like I needed a little bit more that I could like hold on to in this process. And so what I did is I started to write everything at all times. Just writing questions. Again, just have the question. You don't need to have the answer. If you had the answer, you wouldn't have the question. But yes, you have the answer. You just don't know it yet. And so take a piece of paper. If you don't know what to ask or what to write, just say, how are you? And then look at the question and then answer it. And then start like that. Then follow-up question, follow-up question, follow-up question. Start to build a practice. Journaling is the most helpful way to build a relationship with your own voice, with your consciousness, with your higher self. Journaling is an incredible way to take everything that's happening in your mind, all of the energy that's flowing in your body, that you may not be able to fully interpret, journaling is a great way of releasing that energy in the form of writing. When you're writing, you're releasing energy onto that page. And so also when you're writing this, you're able to suddenly read and observe and see energy released as words. And so now you can actually interpret this energy. And now you can actually understand what was going on inside of you, because now you expressed it and it expressed through words, and these words have meaning, and you can understand these words because you know how to read. And now you can read your energy. And it is fascinating how this works. And it makes sense also. And so how I see it is like, if you are trying to, I don't know, come up with a solution to a situation, or trying to put the pieces together about something in your life, or trying to figure out something in your life just by like doing nothing. For me, it's like if I told you, okay, I'm gonna just start describing puzzle pieces to you, and I need you to just, in your mind, build it as I'm describing the pieces. Just build it in your mind. You'd be like, what? It's impossible. And that's stressful, and it gives me anxiety just to think about it. Sure enough, it gives you anxiety just to think about it. And so it's very different if I tell you, hey, I'm going to draw these puzzle pieces. Then I'm going to give them to you. You're going to have them on a piece of paper, and I need you to build this puzzle. Could you do that? 100% you could. So much easier. Writing, journaling does that. It helps you take this energy, turn it into words, put it on a piece of paper, map it out, observe it, analyze it, reflect on it, decide on it, and release it. And then decide what you want to do with this information. What do you want to do with this? And then you start to continue doing this. And you suddenly, before you know it, you have a really amazing, clear, healthy relationship with your higher self, with your consciousness. And therefore, you start to build a really healthy, loving, grateful relationship with yourself.